All right, Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha, Quadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai.
The Americans now beginning to use these types of vessels are a pretty big game.
And before I play this is a video that has been uploaded by the Sun exclusive. As you see right here, the title of this video is called Iran Deletes Sailor in Strait of Hormuz Attack After Trump Restarts Blockade.
It's one thing to talk, it's another thing to take decisive action. And of course, President Trump's in a difficult situation now. Iran is prepared to lash out in any direction they see fit without any concern of the consequences. It is extremely dangerous for the whole region and indeed for the world. Of course, it's highly dangerous to strike either oil tankers or LNG tankers. The gas tankers, of course, have every possibility of creating a very significant explosion. And depending on the severity of a strike on an oil tanker, you could also have a catastrophic environmental disaster caused by leakage of oil, which could have very far.
Yeah, of course, because the creatures in the sea will first and foremost be the ones to suffer for it. And not only that, but if a fire is or something along them lines are started, okay, it could have dangerous or deadly consequences.
Ranging effects. So it's highly irresponsible of the Iranians to be doing this. They don't have the ability to really control the amount of damage they do. But actually, they don't really care. Many countries around the world will be very cautious about doing anything that could cause particularly huge environmental catastrophes. But the Iranians don't care about that. They care about flexing their muscles, showing their strength, and acting in a
Wrong. They care about defending their territory from you Edomites who keeps trying to invade their regions. Now, Iran, I already told you that America has been axed out from having access into the Strait of Hormuz. But yet America is still sending Navy destroyers over there. They're still sending warships over there. So you're edging them on, you're antagonizing them, and then you're expecting them to just sit around and just be punching bags. I mean, like, come on, dude. Realistically speaking, come on, let's be realistic. Countries are not going to just sit around and be punching bags while y'all just sit there and swing.
way that they think will demonstrate to the world that they have defeated two nuclear powers, the United States and Israel. Iran has the capability of targeting pretty much any vessel in what's a relatively restricted waterway, and they can do that by, of course, by utilizing the location data that most ships transmit. And indeed, if they cease to transmit that data, then they could still identify them through various other surveillance capabilities, including drones. And I think that, the Iranians, we shouldn't underestimate the Iranians' capability at either spoofing or overcoming a lack of location data that's provided. They still have some capability, but there's obviously a counter to that, and the Americans are undoubtedly working right now on countering their offensive activity in the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's one thing to talk, it's another thing to take decisive action. And of course, President Trump's in a difficult situation now, because he's got big concerns about the global economy as
My, bags under his eyes. He's really starting to look like an alien. You could tell this man is barely getting any sleep. I remember when I was a child, my mom used to tell me that if you see people with bags under their eyes, it usually means that they ain't getting enough sleep, you know? And obviously this man is losing sleep because he sees that things aren't going his ways as he expected.
a result of restraints on the Strait of Hormuz. He has concerns about the continuation of this conflict and the escalation of this conflict, how it will affect the economy, how it will affect the midterm elections. And so, I think he's in a difficult position between making threats, which we've heard a great deal of, and actually carrying out really decisive action. And we don't have much detail about what counteraction the Americans are taking. We know they are taking counteraction. We don't know quite what that is. It's probably quite right that we don't. There's no need for the United States to give away details of what they're either planning to do or what they're actually doing. But what is very important is that decisive action is taken, and that might have to be prolonged decisive action to really shut down this threat to the Strait of Hormuz. It became very obvious during the war that's now somewhat on hold. Well, they're not completely on hold, but it became very obvious that Iran.
And you see, things are going to continue to escalate because it's prophecy for the U.S. and the small hats to go into Iran. It's in the book of Matthew 24, verse 6. Okay. I wonder, can I get this in a red letter? Excuse me. Yeah, red letter. Okay, so yeah, if it's in red letter, these are the words of Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. So this is Matthew 24 and 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. All these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, we're going to continue to hear of wars and rumors of wars, especially of situations such as this. Situations that will continue to escalate in the news.
Is prepared to lash out in any direction they see fit. I think the one exception to that is likely to be lashing out against China and Russia and their vessels and their other entities,
No, Iran is not going to lash out at China or Russia.
because they are really their only allies, pretty much, that they've got now. And so they will be cautious about that. But anyone else is fair game as far as the Iranians are concerned. And we saw that by the strikes that they launched in response to US and Israeli strikes against Iran, the strikes they launched to their neighbors around the Gulf, including countries that had been very friendly towards Iran up until that point. So that they have no restrictions, there's no inhibition on their actions that they think work for them. And that's a reason why it was so important that their nuclear capabilities were severely damaged and possibly largely destroyed, and also their ballistic